So we have, as part of the replication setup, we have both the systems are up and running fine. So here, what we are going to do now, we are going to configure the HANA replication, high availability HANA replication concept here. So as part of the replication concept, so in the both the host, this is the SAP HANA host, this is the SAP Linux 1 host. So here you have the database is called the SDH. So here also you have installed the SDH. So both are up and running fine. The only thing is we need to exchange the keys between these two databases. Let's go to, so let's connect to the SAP HANA. SAP is HANA is our primary. So here with root user, then the password, go to the, so USR SAP, then SDH, sys, global, so global security, and here we need to copy the, so we need to copy the this keys here, data and keys we have to copy from, so location here, right, from primary. So from primary you have to copy, then so you have to paste it on the secondary side here, right, paste it on the secondary, which means, so it's a SAP Linux 1, SAP Linux 1 here. So okay, SAP Linux 1 we have to paste it here. So same location, go to the USR, SAP, then so sys global security, this part, and so we have the data and the keys. This one we have to take it, we have to paste it here, right? So once you've done it, once you paste it here, so then restart the secondary here. Secondary means SAP Linux 1. Just to do the one time restart to see whether DB is coming up or not. Why? Because sometimes what happens after replacing the SSFS keys, secure file system keys, so after the replacement, it will not be up. So in this case, so we need to check here. We need to check carefully. Okay, so then let me start. So here, so while doing the configuration, primary we have to enable it. So primary we have to enable the configuration. Secondary we have to register into the primary. So then only the replication will work. Then only the replication will work here. This is the primary. This is the secondary here, right? So primary. So this is the so primary, right? So this is the secondary here, secondary. So primary, while registering the secondary, we will get the some replication modes. Replication modes, we will get it out. So what is this replication modes? So we'll discuss now. So while doing this one, we will get the, they are the replication modes, and we have the operation modes are available here, right? They are the replication modes and the operation modes, operational so modes here. So they are the three types of replication modes are available in the system here. Three types of replication modes, and so two types of operational modes are available here. So replication modes and operational modes here, right? So let's start. Let me wait. here this has to finish, this has to start. So once done, then you will get the loose. So what is this exactly? Where you will get the screens and everything here, right? So here the replication modes. There are three types of replication modes here. One is the synchronous replication. Then the second one is the sync mem. The third one is called the async replication modes here, right? So there are the three types of replication modes here. So what is this sync here? What is this sync? Sync means sync async. So sync means here, so primary, so listen carefully, the primary will send the data to the the secondary receive the transaction into your disk level, persistency disk level, it will receive the transaction, right? Then after that, it will send the acknowledgement back to the primary, saying that I have received the transaction. Then again, primary will send the transaction to the secondary. Secondary will receive and will persist into the your storage level. Then it will send the acknowledgement back to the here, right? So that is called the sync. That is called the synchronous here, right? So primary will send, so will send the acknowledgement back. So here that is the sync. Async is primary will send the transaction, but it will not send the acknowledgement back to the primary. So primary keep on sending the transaction to the secondary, then secondary will not bother about, so secondary will receive or not, the primary will not bother. So primary will not bother about whether my secondary received the transaction or not. It will keep on sending the data, which means so the primary will not wait for the acknowledgement from the secondary. That is called the asynchronous. Synchronous means it will wait for the acknowledgement, then only it will send the first transaction, second transaction, then third transaction, like that. The series wise, it will send the transaction here, right? If there is no acknowledgement, then it will not send the one more transaction. The transaction will not be committed. There is a performance issues in the primary system here, right? So these are the replication modes here, right? So sync mem, async here, sync mem, async here. Sync means so primary system waits with the transaction is gets replay, the log is persisted into the secondary system here. So which means primary will send the transaction to secondary, then secondary will send the acknowledgement back to primary saying that the log is persisted in the secondary system. So this option will give the guarantee then immediate consistency between the both the systems here, both the systems here. So when the secondary to when the connection to secondary is lost, then primary system continues to transaction processing, write the changes only the local disk. Local disk, it will only write the local disk here. So here there is no data loss occurs in this scenario as long as secondary is connected immediately, the data loss will not happen, but data loss will happen when the takeover is executed while the secondary is disconnected. When the takeover is executed, that time we may have the data loss. Why? Because the data is persisted into the data folder level, means the disk level it is persisting, right? So that is the reason disk level it is persisting. That is called the sync here, sync, right? So, but the sync mem is called the primary system will commit the transaction after it get the replay from the replay that it received the, means primary system will send the another log once we got the response from the secondary saying that I received the first transaction, then immediately the primary will send the transaction to the secondary. Then secondary will receive, will send the acknowledgement to the primary. Then primary will commit it in one more transaction here, right? So because of only the thing is here, the disk IO speed on the secondary system. So disk space does not influence here. Why? Because it's a persisting into the main memory level, not the disk level. Sync means in the disk level, the data is storing here. Here in the main memory level, data secondary main memory level data is storing here. when the connection to secondary is lost, primary system still continue to writing the transaction, processing the transaction. So local disk only. But data loss will occur when the primary and secondary fails at the same time, right? When our takeover executed, when the secondary is available, that times data loss will occur here. So both the cases, either sync or sync mem. So primary will wait for the acknowledgement from the secondary. So then only it will send the one more transaction. Then only it will send the one more transaction, but not like that asynchronous. Asynchronous. So primary does not wait for the acknowledgement from the secondary. So it will not bother about my secondary is received the. So only the DR scenario we use the this replication mode. This replication mode, asynchronous replication mode, they will use it here in the DR scenario here. Right? The DR scenario, they will use the this replication mode here. Right? So what about the operational modes here? What about the operational modes here? Right? Operational modes here. So there are the two types of operational modes here. One is the delta data shipping. One is the delta. This types of important delta data shipping here. Right? The second one is the log replay mechanism. The log replay mechanism here. So whenever, see here, this is completed, then this is also started, then you can just start registering into the here. So we assume the primary system DB connect the primary, right click, right? So go to the configuration monitoring, configure the replication. Here it is asking the SID ADM here. So then SDH ADM, then the password, you can provide it here. So we are enabling on the primary. First, we have to do it on the primary. So enable the system replication, right? Just click on the OK. So what is the, you need to take the full backup, right? So what is the, so primary application name? Then we can say like PRI. PRI, we have to take it out. But so you need to perform the backup before enabling the replication. It won't happen. So backup, we have to take it out. Full backup before enabling the backups. So backups, we have to take it out here. So index server, access engine in the tenant, those are getting backed up here. So right, backup is done. Now let's take the backup of the so system DB as well. Okay, system DB also. It's very small. Only index server we can, sorry, only name server will be backed up here. No name server. System DB we have only name server. So but here we have the name server is the master. Taking the backups. See here backup is happening. So definitely we need to take the full DB backup before we do the replication here. But because same data will be replicated into the secondary as well here, right? So three types of replication modes and two types of operational modes here. So they may ask you the question, how many types of replication modes and operational modes? So delta data shipping. Delta data shipping means this mode establish a system replication every 10 minutes. By default, every 10 minutes, so the delta data will ships to the the delta data will ships to the target location, means secondary here, right? Every 10 minutes once. So not the continuously the data will not be shipped here, right? So every 10 minutes once the delta data shipping takes place in the takes place, right? So that is the delta data shipping here, right? But the secondary system will receive the log but will not replay. But logs will not be replayed until takeover takeover in place. But to shorten the takeover log replay, so always we need to use the log replay mechanism. Log replay means logs will be replayed, recommitted on the re-executed on the secondary system. So delta data shipping means every 10 minutes once the data will be moved, but logs will not be replayed until it has to take over, right? So but to avoid the takeover timelines and everything, we need to use the log replay mode, full log shipping, so that data continuously will play the logs onto the your secondary database here. So here the data will come. Then if you want to immediately to replay it in here, then we need to use the log replay mode only. We don't want to replay immediately every 10 minutes once, means you need to use the delta data. This is a rare cases they will use it. So this is the one everybody will use that one here, right? So that is done now, right? So now, so right click on the primary, right? So go to the system replication configuration here. You will get the screen. Okay. So enable the system replication. So PRI primary, just to give the PRI primary. Okay. Finish. So done. So enabling the system replication is done. So you can see here this mark. If it is this gone, then we have done. Replication is enabled here, right? Enabling the system replication. It's done. Okay. So now log into the secondary. So while doing the secondary, you need to stop the secondary system here. Secondary system like SAP Linux 1. While registering the secondary into primary, you need to stop it. You need to stop the secondary. Why? Because then only, why? Because secondary will not be accessible there. So you need to stop the secondary, then go to the here, then register, configure the system replication here. Then SB ADM, then the password you need to provide it here. So while registering the secondary, you need to stop the secondary. Primary, no need to do stopping. Secondary, we need to stop it. So once the stopping is done, we will get the prompt here. Right? You can see now register secondary. Right? Before stop, before then only we will get the register the secondary. And the primary, we have enabled it. Secondary system, we are just registering the secondary into primary system. Then it will ask the secondary details. Then what is the mode, replication modes? We have the three types of modes we selected. Then what is the delta data shipping or log replay? So what is the source system information? SAP HANA. Initiate the full data shipping. Then so here, replication modes, operation modes. We have to select it. Next, right? Finish. So the only typical here we get the, if something wrong, secondary will not register into the primary. The keys exchange or something wrong, it will not be exchanged here. Now see here whether it will register or not. So it is processing the query, registering the secondary as secondary system as the secondary of the primary system. So it is registering. right? So see here, its remote system does not match here. See here, it's failing because of remote host does not match with any one of the host names of the both the site. So it's not matching. It's not matching here. So let me check here SAP HANA. Just we given the SAP HANA, but we have to give the full details here. So fully qualified domain name, we need to set it out. Let's see whether it will work or not. So this type of issues we may face it while registering the secondary into primary. So two things. So host name are incorrect, or so maybe the keys which you copied from the primary to secondary, that may be the incorrect. So both the ways, so it won't connect it. It won't connect it here. So let's see now what is the issues we may face it now. Done. Now see, it's done. It's connected. Sir, how can we see it means? So now secondary will not be accessible now. Why? Because it's registered now secondary only. So we cannot log into the secondary now. Just to go to the primary only here. In the primary system only you can log in. There we can see here. Go to the landscape tab in the primary. In the landscape tab, you will see the system replication option here, right? You will see the system replication option here. So here you will see the how the replication is happening from primary to secondary, then how the logs are shipping, all the information will be available. So let's see. Oh, do we select asynchronous mode? I think, right? You can see here what is the host, primary host, secondary host, replication modes, and replication status. Then, so the replication status here, just click on the refresh button. So full replication is happening. Full replica is happening here. The data is getting replicated. Full replica is happening here, right? So full replication is happening. So all are active, but not in sync yet. So which means all are active, but sync is not happening. Still, it's not come to the green status. Why? Because so name server replication is done. Then index server access engine replication will happen here. See here, full replica is happening. Full replication is happening now. You can see it here. The replication is happening. Okay, so this is the preparing the persistency layer. So this will become active status once done. Then immediately active. Then immediately this will go replicated. This will be replicated here. Okay. So like this, the data will be replicated to the primary and secondary. If you do anything in the primary, automatically that will be the changes will be moved to the secondary as well, right? So what is the shipped log position? When was the what is the log position here? When was the logs will happen? So timelines, all the information will be happened here, right? All the details you can see it here, right? The next one is happening here, right? So next one is happening like this. The data will be the replicated. Then after some time, it will become active status here. So active status here. So this is also full active, become active now. So now this is initializing here. So which means this is also 90% is completed, 19% is completed the replication, full replication here. So now if you do anything here, automatically that will be replicated to the secondary. Primary, if you do, then why? Because there is a bridge, there is a pipe we have established now, right? Between the primary and secondary, there is a pipe we have established here. So If you do anything here, automatically the data will be saved to the secondary as well. Secondary as well, right? Secondary as well here. Suppose in the primary, let's take here in the primary. Once the full replica is done, if the terabytes of systems, it may take very longer time. 3 hours, 4 hours will take for the replication. Why? Because in case of if it is the terabytes, primary system DB size is the terabytes of data, so will take very longer time for the full replication here. That's why it's a very time taking process. This procedure also time taking process here. Yeah, do you no need to take the backups? Backup are not required automatically. So backups are not required. Only any changes in the system, database level, any transactions, any data will comes to the picture. So that will become a here. Suppose in the primary, I'm going to create a one user here. Let's take example here. So, but if you try to access the secondary will not be available now. Why? Because so secondary will not be only will not able to log into the secondary. Why? Because secondary will not be accessible now until you do the takeover. Takeover means so secondary will become a primary and primary will become secondary. Like that until you do this one, it will not be accessible. Like this only here, right? Like this only, the secondary will not be available for accessing the data. So now data is replicating now. Now data will be replicated. So just if you see here, yeah, both are active, active, active. So which means the data is replicating. Here you can see the data, how the data, what is the log position, how many logs are replicated, all the information will be available here. So in case of DR situation, disaster recovery situation, or any time, if we want to do, so then we can take over we can perform the takeover the database means so secondary will be the primary, then primary will be the secondary. Like that we can use the takeover we can take it out here, right click on the secondary, then what we will do, we can do the takeover here. So if you create the any user or any data here primary, within fraction of seconds it will be moved to the secondary as well. The user also will be created in the secondary also here. So that way we can do the testing also. But let's take the takeover here. Takeover, how the takeover will happen. Right? Perform the takeover. So takeover means so secondary will be the primary. So performing the takeover means so this will become a active, this will become a active here. So then the data will be replicated from here to here, it will happen. So now this is the primary, now this is the secondary. Whenever you perform the takeover, this will become a primary, this will become a secondary. So like this also we can take it. That is called the takeover. So now see, it is taking over from primary. So then secondary will become active, primary will not will become a formal secondary here. So it will not be accessible in this case, right? So this is the way we need to do we need to perform the replication configuration. Okay, the replication configuration we need to perform it here. Okay, so this is the replication modes and the operation modes you need to choose it here, right? Replication modes and operation modes. So we have to choose it here.
So if we want to start the system replication, where we do the secondary or primary. Hello.
If you want,
So if we want to stop the replication,
we need
uh,
to break the replication.
yeah,
We
yeah,
need
yeah,
to
yeah,
log
break the
into the primary and we need to break it. Break means right click and deregister. There is a deregister option. We can deregister. So pipe we are breaking in the primary itself. So there is a pipe. So normally in our language, so primary and secondary. This is the one bucket. This is the one more bucket. So this is the primary bucket. This is the secondary bucket. Whenever you pour the water here, automatically same water will be replicated to the here as well, right? So in this case, if you want to break this connection, then you will break from primary. If we break the from the primary, automatically it will be disconnect, right? So then we have to break from the primary only. So just right click and break the replication here.
Okay, sir.
So still it's taking over. Take over. Taking over means it will take all the locks will be replayed and all those things will happen. So this will take time. So this is the replication concept here. So if you want to check the logs and everything, if you go to the CD trace, so then here if you open the logs here, the logs, mainly the logs checking here. If you go to the logs here, so what happening and all the information will be so recorded here. If you go to the loads index server trace, so all the information, what's happening with the index server. Here the logs are opening. Here how fastly it is loading. Delayed, replayed, the logs are replayed, the logs are replayed here. So there is a, so we are getting the things here, right? So it will be replayed, all the information will get replayed here. So performing the takeover. So we can observe it here in the logs position. We can see it here, what's happening here. So it's starting the reloading the column store tables, So assigning the data value finished. So, so So this is the way we can check the logs, how the log replay delay time, how much delay, what is the replay log for the. So then it will show the all the information in the log files. So here we can only see it got replayed now. It got replayed, it is done. So now primary, secondary will be available now. Secondary will be available, but secondary will become a primary now. So it is available. If you see it here, it is all the processor available here. So now we can reverse replication also we can configure it. SAP Linux one is the primary, SAP HANA is the secondary. Like that also we can do the reverse replication. So both the ways we can start creating the replications. Okay, use the SDH01 instance number and both the systems are up and running. Just we can start the doing the replication creation and all the information. Okay.